The following is a semi-professional... fuck it, read it yourself. Alrighty, and welcome back to Nihilhalla. We are here for what has to be like episode 6 of Kerbal Space Program, but this is our second run of things, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Last time I was just sort of building like some crazy rocket shit, and today we are going to actually try and do some productive things.
Yeah. Our friend Andy wanted to see more of this game, so we're playing it for him. And also, this has the current patch, right, Neil? Or
yeah, we've updated to 1.1. It's actually still in pre-release, but we've updated to the beta 1.1 patch for Kerbal Space Program at the behest of a friend of mine, actually. And I gotta say, it's a lot smoother and a lot crisper than it was. You'll also notice that there are some ships in my list here that say contains invalid or locked parts. Those were aircraft that used mods that I no longer have installed. So as with anything, we're going to get started with something ridiculous, and then we'll actually like make a space plane that flies. And actually gets to space, and hopefully, if all goes well, does not explode on re-entry.
Real quick on the review aspect of our show, Neil tried to play with his complete flying rig that he has.
That's more of a failing of the game right now.
No. But what I was just saying, like, you know, we tried. Just anybody out there thinking about trying to fly with a stick and whatnot, it appeared difficult.
Well, the stick I'm using is the Cytec X65F, which is a force-sensing flight stick. It's a very novel concept. The problem that I encountered with it immediately is that the Unity engine that Kerbal Space Program is programmed on does not seem to be capable of actually like supporting proper flight input from the stick. It lags a little bit from the analog input. Now, digital input is still fine, so if you're flying using like a D-pad or something like that, or the Steam controller actually works pretty good for the simulated analog input that it has.
Wasn't trying to shit on anything, was just saying that was something we tried. Anybody else who's tried to do it, and if anybody's had any better luck, tell us what you use. We'd love to hear.
So this, they'll probably say something like PP Joy, actually, because that's what I was going to be doing one weekend. I was going to reconfigure my entire rig to work with Parallel Port Joy or PP Joy, but it's old and deprecated, and it requires me to expose my machine to a lot of potentially bad shit.
This looks like one of those stupid firecrackers that spins on the ground.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because what I attempted to do with this build was make actually a UFO, and like the traditional, like you would see in fucking old 1950s cartoons, where the flying saucer and shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I got. And as you can see, it's spinning.
Yeah.
And there's no question about that. It spins very quickly, actually. And it actually
lift off.
It actually takes off the ground, which is pretty amusing.
Yeah.
And
does it look like it's going pretty high? Oh, it does.
And we can like
control it
with the roll controls. You can see the roll setup over here. I can change the speed at which I am traveling up or down, but I can't change the angle. So this typically ends pretty poorly.
Does it make it to orbit?
No, not at all. This doesn't even make it close to space. See, right now I'm trying to tip it over towards one side or the other just to get off the launch pad, and it's not working very well at all. Because effectively what Jeb is trying to do is constantly tip it to the right, which of course doesn't work with a setup like this because it doesn't know to intelligently bend certain fins and not other certain fins. And
poor Jeb.
It just sort of ends badly. Now, if I had like some sort of circular intake system where I could direct the overall exhaust, then maybe I'd have a little bit more of a chance. But odds are I'm just going to end up crashing this thing in a minute. So let's get it going really wobbly here. Let's see if I can get it at least somewhat rotated off the pad.
It's pretty.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely that. Like, and it lands pretty well because it can't. I can actually land it. Like, it's not just. It doesn't just crash every time.
If anything, some hippies can use this for a trip video or something, because that spinning is.
So the thing is.
Oh, whoa!
The thing is, now I'm going to blast the shroud off the top and get Jeb clear of this thing so that he can survive the impact that's going to happen. There we go. Now, here's the crazy thing. Now that I've dropped all this weight from Jeb's little, like, happy capsule here, which is actually the cupola module for anybody who's actually played Kerbal Space Program. This is basically a Mark II, or you might call it a Rockomax size.
Do you have a parachute?
2.5. Yeah, I've got actually 4 parachutes on this thing. Yeah, see, it stays in the air, which is amusing to say the least. And then Jeb can come safely back down to the launch pad. The problem I've most had with that thing, and it's probably not going to get more than 2 kilometers away, so I've actually recently discovered there's a hotkey that'll let me go select that thing. The thing that I've discovered is kind of, actually really annoying, is that it will stay up there for damn near ever until it does this. And once it starts cartwheeling to the ground, it will almost always, we got lucky that time, it didn't hit the launch pad.
Do you have to repair the launch pad?
If it hits the launch pad square in campaign and science mode, I think, only, you have to actually repair the launch pad. In sandbox mode, this does not happen. So if you're just fucking around in Kerbal Space Program and you blow up the launch pad, remember you can always revert, but like... For you,
if you're trying to play.
For you purists out there, it's not always an option. And then there's this thing. I don't know if this is part of the same... Yeah, this was the original model that I made.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, this...
There's not as many fins.
I think I referred to this as the space pository. So, basically, if this engine isn't lit immediately before I kick on the other 4... bad shit happens. And then I can shut this down. It doesn't have any way to lift itself off the ground except for the big rocket at the bottom. But it still gets going pretty fast.
No, yeah, it's still pretty.
But watch what happens when I try to angle it up or down. You'll notice that it's still traveling at about 20 meters per second, but it's coming quite quickly towards the ground. It's not performing as intended. We're getting a hell of a lot of rotary speed off of it, but it's not quite slowing down.
So flip it, and then it'll go up?
See, that's what I thought too, but what actually happens is that gravity is, of course, still overcoming these engines. So if I put a thrust limiter on our lower engine here...
What about just thrust in general to make it go up?
That's what we're doing. We're thrusting with this larger engine at the bottom to slow ourselves down. And under 5%, we actually don't slow down quick enough. And I've just realized I've left steam on. See, now everything was fine until that happened.
Well, Jeb's fine.
Yeah, so anyway, it is possible to make one of these that actually flies, and what I basically did before I decided to put those smaller jets on there, and the reason I ended up putting the smaller jets on there was I just stapled wings onto the outside of this, didn't even put ailerons on it, just duct taped some wings on, basically. Watch what happens.
Do the wings just fly off?
They just fly off. You'll love it. All right. Gotta get off the ground.
Yeah.
We gotta get off the ground, or else that thing will actually break. That bottom rocket will actually explode.
From grinding into the ground.
Yeah. What a novel concept, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you hear it? Do you hear it whipping around now?
Yeah.
Alright. So here's the thing. We're now at 8.4 meters per second of lift, and at some point, those wings are just going to rip off. And I forget when exactly it happened when I did it last time. But it had to do with the fact that these are both engines and intakes, and at a certain velocity, they do just actually, they can't take any more punishment. And one of them blew off on the launch pad when I was testing it. There we go. And this happened. And I was like, oh my god, I don't have any way to save Jeb. So I popped this open, and of course I didn't have parachute, but something similar to this happened, but it ground off the tank.
Yeah.
And the separator for the fairing came off as well, and the cupola was just sliding across the ground.
Did it save Jeb?
No, but here's why. The cupola slid across the ground, rolled up onto its side, and then started to roll faster and faster. And I'm like, oh god, stability assist, stop it, stop the capsule. But it didn't. And it eventually caught, I guess, a piece of the terrain and flipped over and exploded. And I said, well, damn it. I guess that's all we have time for today, but like...
Funny you should mention that, because that's all we have time for this episode.
That's what I was referring to, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah.
Never mind. I'll shut up now.
No, it's fine. But I said, like, well, damn it. There's nothing I can really do about this except a full redesign, so I did. Anyway, next episode, space planes that work.
See y'all next time, folks.